Okay, since the first page will indeed help you, I am going to go over it. Few things need to be highlighted first. One, what does it mean if it is a linear function? There are two things that are important here. All of you will tell me one of them right now. What does it mean if it's a linear function? It graphs in a straight line. That's the definition that everybody gives me, and that's technically right. It graphs a straight line. But more importantly, the mathematical definition that we are looking for is our inputs and outputs change by uniform amounts. Notice I did not say equal. Okay? Uniform, which means if x increases by 3 and y increases by 5 between any 2 points on the graph, then that continues forever. Okay? That is what we are trying to say here. Everybody cool? Okay. The 4 ways of graphing these. 1, standard form. What's it look like? Anyone? Without looking back in your notes? Standard form, anyone? AX
plus BY equals
C. Right? What are some things you have to remember about that? No fractions. Are decimals fractions? Yes. Okay. How would you go about graphing that? What would you use? If I only gave you that form and said you're not allowed to change the form, how would you graph that? 2 choices. One works all the time. What is it? x0, 0y. That wasn't the one that I was going to say. But that's the one we learned in grade 10. What's the other way that will always work? Table of values. Good old-fashioned T of V. Okay? Second form. General. Nice spelling, Mr. Myers. General form. What's that guy look like? AX plus BY plus C equals 0. What are the rules we got to remember? Oh, I forgot one rule in standard form. X is positive. What are the rules in general form? X is positive. That stays the same. No fractions. That stays the same. And everything equals 0. How would I graph it? Same thing. x0, 0y, or a T of V. Cool? Buddha? Third form. Slope-intercept. What's that look like? What's slope-intercept? Y mx plus b. What are some things we need to remember about it? Y is isolated. What else? y is positive. What else? M is slope, which opens a whole nother can of worms, doesn't it? Because slope is what? Rise over run, and y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Correct? So can I put this or this in there? Yes. Because they both equal m. So all of that can go in for m. Cool? And then how would I graph it? We would graph by plotting. Not for a murder, but by going to the y-intercept and counting. Cool? What else could we use if we wanted to? T of E, because that works for everything. Any questions yet? And finally, what's our fourth point slope? Which is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And what do we have to remember about that guy? x1 and y1 on graph with opposite signs. And how would we graph it? Again, plot or T of V. Is everybody cool with all four? What is the number one thing you need to remember? And hopefully you've left a bit of blank space somewhere, like I did. The number one thing to remember is X, Y. Highlight it. Box it. Do something with it. X, Y. Any two numbers, 3, negative 12, means you have an X and a Y that can go where? Any X or Y in any one of these forms. Okay? Does everyone understand that? Because for some reason this, every year, people are like, I have no idea what to do, Mr. Myers. You have an equation, right? Yup. You have a point, right? Yup. Are there X's and Y's in the equation? Yup. Are there X's and Y's in your point? Yup. So what should you do? I don't know. Do you all see the flaw there? How can you know all that stuff and then all of a sudden, hey, I don't know what to do? Okay? Your X and Y are always available for you. Okay? So let's do that, because we're only going to do the first page, like I said. Find the linear function as a slope of 5 and a y-intercept of 4. Which one of those 4 methods are we going to use right now? Why are you going to use slope-intercept? Because you have a slope and an intercept. Is it the right intercept? Y-intercept? Yeah. So what would be the equation for this line? We agree that it's got to be slope-intercept, which I wrote in green. We agree it's got to be this. So now rewrite it. That's this whole mini unit, doing that. You will never see a graph. You're doing it all algebraically. Okay? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Now, how would you change it? Go. And then we're stopping there today. Put it in standard and put it in general. Actually, do you guys have number 3 on your page? Yes, okay, we're just doing this first page, but we might run out of time. That's no big deal. What's got to happen for standard form? What moves? If you just move y, you're going to have 5x minus y plus 4 equals 0. Then what has to move? There's standard. And what's general? We've already got it right there. Everybody cool? All right, and the last thing we're going to do that we will squeeze in before the bell, what form are you going to use there? Y point slope, Joel. You've got a slope and a point. So fill it in. Y minus, what's the y here?
2.
No.
Negative 2.
Y minus minus 2 equals the slope, 2/3, x minus, what's the x? 6. What's the only thing there I got to change to make it pretty? Do we like this notation? Y plus 2 equals 2/3 x minus 6. What's the shortcut if you're not good at just substitution? You remember that this point has opposite signs in the point slope form. And you remember why? Because of what we did in the graphing unit, yes? To make these equal at 0, I would have to have a y of negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2 would get me 0. And an x of 6. 6 minus 6 would get me 0. Is everybody cool? Okay? This is why I like to do this page right before your test tomorrow. Because the more comfortable you are with all 4 forms, the easier it is to graph, isn't it? Everybody good? Test tomorrow.